Thank you, Chairman Hunter, Ranking Member Garamendi. Thanks for holding this hearing. This has been of a huge concern for me, really since 9/11. I actually, when I came to Congress, I started the Ports Caucus because ports, I think, are so important to this country. They're the main economic engine, and yet I always had a sense that after 9/11, we spent a little more time, effort, and money on securing our airports than we did our ports. And when people ask me what keeps me up at night, it's a dirty bomb at the port of Los Angeles or Long Beach. You know, ships make 50,000 calls a year on our U.S. ports. They carry 2 billion tons of freight, 134 million passengers. They're incredibly important, and one dirty bomb at Long Beach, LA, which accounts for about 44% of all the trade that comes in this country, would be disastrous. We were able to finally quantify what those ports meant to our economy in 2002 when there was a labor dispute and the workers were actually locked out for 10 days. Everyone finally figured out that the closure of the West Coast ports accounted for about $1 billion a day to our national economy. So I am concerned, and I applauded Congress when they passed the 2006 Safe Port Act and wanted 100% scanning of all cargo containers, and as we're hearing today, we're around 3% of scanning. Screening is very different than scanning. And we keep, moving that deadline. No one really seems to believe that we can ever do 100% scanning, and so that deadline just keeps being bumped down the road. But it makes me extremely nervous. And all the scenarios that you all are saying never could happen, like, we had a panga boat that made land in Rancho Palos Verdes, about a mile from where I live, not too long ago. And do you all remember in 2002 and 2003 when ABC News smuggled depleted uranium through the port of New York and the port of Long Beach? No one detected it. It was in the size of a soda can. It was shielded by material that was bought off the shelf. And no one detected that in either port. So I get that with resources we're doing this layered approach and risk-based approach, but I am still very concerned that we are not scanning. And by the way, there's a big gap between when they come into port and then scanning them before they leave on a truck. I'm worried, and I thought this hearing was about what could happen at one of these large ports, a dirty bomb exploding. Not to mention the lives. We have 5,000 men and women that work on the docks at Long Beach and Los Angeles every single day. So I'm still extremely concerned, and the next panel I'm going to see if we can talk about technology that actually could scan 100% without slowing down commerce. But I'm worried, and I think part of why our ports are vulnerable to this kind of terrorist attack is because of the disruption that it would cause to our national economy and the global economy, and also because I'm not convinced all of our ports in this country have a good recovery plan if, in fact, something like this happens. So I was going to ask Rear Admiral Brown, what are you doing to work with ports in their recovery plan? If you imagine the port of Los Angeles or, a couple of those ships overturned in the main channel, not to mention maybe thousands of lives that would be lost, folks not even being able to get there to work or to, rebuild a ship or clear a main channel. What are you doing that would convince us, and maybe the terrorists, that wouldn't be such an attractive target because we can get back up and running quickly? Well, there was a question in there somewhere.
Hey, thank you for that question. I'm going to have to go over time to answer it, though, because it is fairly complex. One of the things I'd say is that through the Area Maritime Security Committee process, part of that is an exercise program that we call AMSTEP, and each port Area Maritime Security Committee can prioritize for itself what scenarios they think are the most important security-related scenarios. Since about 2003, different ports around the country have done over a dozen, 24 actually, exercises that specifically address dirty bomb scenarios, and one of the elements of each exercise is recovery. We've learned through a variety of real-world events that the resilience of the maritime security system is vitally important to our population and to our economy. And so we've developed a process called the Maritime Transportation System Recovery Unit, or MTSRU, that we've used in response to Superstorm Sandy. We used it actually in response to the Haiti earthquake, recognizing that you don't feed the country or its economy through an airport, but in fact through the seaport. So helping to recover that port from containers in the water, sunken vessels, damaged piers, have all informed our processes so that we engage with industry, the Army Corps of Engineers, the Navy Supervisor of Salvage, and other federal partners, as well as industry, to put recovery of the maritime transportation system on the fast track of priority for recovery in a scenario like this.
And I know my time's up. I know Los Angeles has a port recovery plan. Are you convinced that every seaport in this country actually has at their disposal a recovery plan in the case of a major disaster?
I couldn't tell you that every port has a plan as robust and partnerships as well exercised as the Port of LA Long Beach, but it is a significant part of every Area Maritime Security Committee's responsibility.
I would like to see that as being the Coast Guard's priority in working with ports. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank the gentleman.